wasn't recording the entire time.
Oh.
Crap. Okay, don't get too much. We're filming. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This video was requested. It is a Q&A with me and my husband, Bryon. This is his second ever sit-down video, so he's starting to love the camera as much as I do. Kinda.
No.
So I asked you guys on Instagram questions to ask me, and so I have them pulled up right here on my phone. And yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and get into these and answers. The video's not too long. So the first question is from bweeks15, who's also from my hometown. She asked, are we both from Alabama? How did we both meet if we're not? And she also asked if our age gap has ever been an issue in our relationship.
Okay. Well,
So I'm from Alabama and he's not.
No, I'm from Iowa.
So we met because he taught flight school in Fort Rucker, Alabama.
Yes. For the
And
Army.
then he married me and took me away.
I met her down at the beach, and I ended up running into her at Fort Rucker at the gym.
He just couldn't get enough. And then, has the age gap ever been an issue for either of you? It hasn't been an issue for us, like, personally. I think other people had more of a problem with it than we did, because at the time when we met, I was 20 and he was 30. So, like, his family wasn't like, yay, 20-year-old. Like, it's a lot better now. Yeah. But yeah, I just charmed everyone and I'm still here. The Infertile Struggle asked, how has IVF and infertility affected our relationship? How do we manage to keep the spark throughout all this? So we didn't have infertility with our daughter Aniston. So this time around it's been a lot more like frustrating, I think, for me especially, because we've already done this before. Like, why can't we do it again? So I think that it's more like me having like mood swings and stress that affects our relationship.
It's more fun for me though.
Well, yeah, it's more fun for him because when you're trying to conceive, you love each other a lot more during the month. Okay. How do we manage to keep the spark? We just try to spend time together whenever we can. His work schedule doesn't allow for a lot, but we just did a trip, pre-IVF trip before our transfer to de-stress a little bit. So we just took advantage of the time that we had together. The next question I'm going to let him answer because this is so funny. Taylor Ray Berry asked, when did you guys first say I love you?
I believe it was like day 3 or 4.
Yeah, he said it like day 3 and I wrote back like, you are crazy. You don't love me. I didn't say it till much later though, because I won't say it if I don't like feel it. But he said it right away. I said it like multiple weeks later. I mean, it was still soon. And I still felt a little bit of pressure. But he said it, I was at McDonald's, okay, with my parents. And they had no clue I was seeing anyone. And he was like, I just want to tell you I love you because I do. I was like, swerve, I'm not seeing this guy ever again. The next question is from Z1R488. Has IVF been a hard journey for the both of you, and who is the rock in the relationship? I definitely think IVF is harder on the woman. I mean, in our case, I feel like it's been harder on me because I'm actually going through it. Like, physically, we had a horrible, traumatic egg retrieval. So obviously that was harder on me. I think it kind of freaked him out a little bit because it was scary. And he's like, they're like, your wife's internally bleeding. But I think for the woman, you're going through the shots and the uncertainties, feeling like a failure because you're born to like procreate and have babies. So I don't know how it's been for you. I mean, just the mood swings probably has been hard for him.
That's the hardest part, the mood swings and having to deal with you and learn how to deal with you and just...
yeah. The meds are serious, you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm already moody anyway, but the meds
I'm usually a stress-free type of person. So.
Which frustrates me when he's very easygoing. I'm like, why are you being so easy about this? Like, him being so stress-free stresses me out. Like, I know it sounds crazy. It does. But as far as, like, who's the rock, he's very level-headed. But I don't always need that. I need, like, something else. So, really, my rock has been, like, talking to other women who are suffering from infertility, especially secondary infertility, which is what we have, and male factor. But secondary infertility means that you've had children on your own, but you can't do it again for some reason. So talking to women who have done that, I think, has been my rock. and just researching helps me because my husband just kind of goes with the flow. And I am not. I'm very neurotic and I have to know everything about everything. The next question is from H. Cuozo. I'm probably butchering that last name. How has the IVF journey affected you at work, if at all? And then she also asked, what is the best way my husband shows support through this? So as far as the IVF journey at work, I'm actually really blessed. My current boss actually went through infertility herself and she used the same clinic I did. When I put in for intermittent FMLA leave for my treatments, she told me that she went through the same thing and it kind of worked out in my favor. And I've heard stories where people's bosses get really upset about you having to be gone. So I feel very blessed in that sense that I don't have to worry about that. She's very just, whatever you need, let me know, and then it's fine. And I also work in an OBGYN's office, so I can always ask questions to my docs if I need to. And as far as my husband showing support, he just kind of like doesn't freak out whenever I have mood swings. And he's always optimistic. He's always like, it's going to work, it's going to work. He's just very 100% on all the time, which is annoying. But it's sometimes you need that. CRCTTC asked, what advice would you give a couple about to go through IVF? Well, there goes Bryan's advice. What advice would you give someone, like someone's husband that's about to go through with their wife IVF?
Yes, the wife is always correct, and the mood swings. You don't want to, piss her off too much. So
don't say that word.
It's the wife's always correct.
And for the woman, just go with the flow. I mean, so many things are going to happen in IVF. It may not be a picture perfect cycle, like ours wasn't picture perfect. We thought we'd go in, do it, and have a fresh transfer, get pregnant, and that was not the case for us at all.
Or like you always, think this is gonna work, and then you're devastated when it doesn't. So that's another thing you gotta watch out for. So you can't always rely on this is going to work. So otherwise it's just gonna put you down more.
Yeah, I mean, with the fresh transfer, I was devastated, and you guys saw that I was like devastated. Even though I knew it was possible I wouldn't get a fresh transfer, I still was devastated because I'm like, surely I'll get a fresh transfer. So yeah, so just be prepared for changes because IVF is just a roller coaster from start till the end. Elena's question about the celebrity hall pass. I won't be answering that one. The next question is from Miss Bordeaux 528. What vitamins and supplements and advice would you give someone for going through IVF? How do we keep stress to a minimum? I don't keep stress to a minimum. What you see on camera is not necessarily real life. I stress a lot, but I'm not going to come on my YouTube and just constantly talk about stress and everything else because I'm trying to be like a reference and not just come on here to vent and complain about everything. So it's still stressful. I mean, I have a video about de-stressing during infertility that I can link down below for you guys. But as far as vitamins and supplements, I did take a few vitamins for egg quality, and he took some for sperm count and quality, and I'll just link those down below or put a list of them down below so you can check those out. Orchard Avenue asked, how is my relationship with my husband's daughter's mom and her family? Do they have a relationship with Aniston too? So we didn't really have like a relationship the first like couple years of our marriage, the first like 5 years of our marriage or 4 years of our marriage. It just kind of was like no communication, and then one day it just got better. I don't really know how to explain that. It just got better all of a sudden. Her family's always been nice to me, so it's not like they treated me badly or anything. So I feel happy that they at least have been civil to me. But there's no like issues now. If we have to text each other for anything, we just do that. Abby M0706 asked, how are some ways you can financially plan for IVF? How have our friends reacted to our journey, and how do we stay positive? I love how all of you guys think that we're always positive because we're not. He's always positive. I am for the most part, but there's a lot of times that I'm not feeling positive. But as far as financially planning for IVF, if you are financially able, you can take out a loan for IVF. A lot of places have certain lenders that they use for IVF who will give you kind of like a good deal, like interest wise. I've heard of people using like no interest credit cards and then paying them off within like a year or two before the interest hits. Some people have gone as far as to like take out like a what is it, like a second mortgage on your house. Not necessarily the
Small
smartest,
loan.
yeah, not necessarily the smartest thing to do. Obviously,
Not a mortgage, just a small loan.
just a small loan. So, I mean, work overtime, save, save, save. If you know it's possible in the future, just save as much as you possibly can, because IVF's not cheap. You can travel other places too if you have like half the money. If you look into traveling like abroad or like to CNY in New York, those are ways you can also save money on IVF. And how have my friends reacted to my IVF journey? A lot of them are very supportive. They knew from the beginning when we wanted another child like 2.5 years ago. And a lot of them actually were trying at the same time. And those people have had their babies and they're like a year old now. So they're way kind of past where I'm still at the starting line pretty much. And they have pretty much finished like forever ago. But most of my friends are very supportive and I feel grateful. No one has said anything negative. So, I mean, if they're your friends, they're going to support you no matter what. The next question is from Jessica Turner, 19. If I get pregnant with twins, will I continue to work full time? Most likely, yes.
Yes. Me too.
Yes, he obviously will continue to work full time. I'm sure that was a question for me. I like what I do. I really enjoy my job, and if we were blessed with twins, it wouldn't change me working. Now, if it ended up being like something that happens and some eggs are trying to split up and hang out with other eggs and we end up with like triplets or quadruplets, I would be staying home at that point because that would make the most sense. And Bryon would be so mortified. But with twins, yeah, I definitely will go back to work after my 12 weeks. The next question is from the Lushers. Has your little girl been asking for another brother or sister yet? Yes. She actually sees babies and asks to take them home, which I explained to her is illegal. You can't kidnap people's kids. She knows that we're trying. We won't tell her when we get pregnant though, because I don't want to explain to her something. She's in the background. I wouldn't want to explain to her if something happened. I probably would just wait and just see and try to like ease into that. But because she's 4, she won't really understand yet. So she does want a brother or sister, and so does my stepdaughter Paige. They both want more siblings, so we're trying to make that happen. Rachel McLaughlin asks, how important has your faith been throughout this process? And we already answered the second part of her question, but just try to rely on whatever you believe in. If you believe in God, obviously you want to pray about it. And obviously, whenever we were going through the process of trying to figure out how many embryos to transfer, and I prayed about it and asked for a sign, I got the sign that I wanted and needed. So that's very important that that happened for us to decide how many we were transferring, because for a second there he wanted 2 and I was getting scared and wanted 1. But of course, whatever the sign was what I was going to go with, which ended up being a sign for 2. So for those of you who don't believe in God, I don't really know how to answer that question. Just whatever you believe in. Obviously, I'm not really like versed on that, but just specifically pray for what you want and see what happens. Okay, and then my last question is from Royal T, and it says, how did you explain to your family and friends that you needed IVF? I'm assuming she means because we already had our daughter like naturally. As far as I can only speak for myself on my end. But my mom, I told her we were having issues about the time that we started doing Clomid. And she was very just like, oh, it'll happen. She was one of those who were like, oh, it'll happen. Just trying to be supportive, but yet that's not really helpful. Sorry, Mom. And then we called her and told her after we were just done with IUIs and had to move forward with IVF. And she has just tried to like be as supportive as she can, even though she doesn't know a whole lot about it. And then my friends, a lot of my close friends knew we were trying as well. So I think that when you include family and close friends, they will go along with you through the process and not have to like, you won't have to like bombard them with, oh, we're doing IVF. And yeah, they're already kind of along the ride with you and they're just kind of learning as you learn. What about you? How did you explain that to your mom?
I guess she didn't really understand the IVF process or what we started out with IUIs. So she didn't really understand any of that stuff, so it was kind of hard for her to process of what was going on. But she was kind of the same way, as just keep trying and it'll happen.
Mm-hmm. It's funny how so many people just think that if you just keep trying, eventually it'll happen. Like even with problems, Like in our case, Bryan's sperm can't even penetrate an egg. So it's like we can keep trying all we want to, but we're not going to get to that point without help. So most people just don't really understand enough. And it's not their fault because they're not in it. So they're not going to be researching this specific topic. Am I boring you with my talk? So yeah, I mean, most of the time your family and friends are going to support you no matter what you do. And if you don't have family that supports you, I'm sorry, because that must be terrible. My mom was very supportive, and they always joke about how many we're going to end up with, and they want us to have like so many more children. And I think Bryan's mom is the only one that knows out of his family, just because we talk to her the most, and she is just the most involved in our life. And the rest of his family is kind of all over the place.
My dad.
Does he know about it?
Dad knows.
Yeah.
So, but he didn't.
Yeah, his dad. Everyone I think in our families are the same. They kind of just go with whatever we're doing. So they're there to support us if we need them, but they're not going to pry on our business. So they just kind of like go with the flow. Whatever we tell them is what they do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's all for this video, you guys. At the time that you're seeing this video, we were actually in our 2-week wait from our very first transfer of IVF. So at this point, we're probably like biting our fingernails, wondering if it's successful or not. So if you want to subscribe to our channel and follow us along, you know what button to hit down below, and we will see you in our next video. Bye.
Bye.
You look so much tanner than me. Get close. You look tan. I look so white. Is that a different ethnicity? Oh, I guess you kind of are a different ethnicity, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
You're not Indian.
Indian outlaw.
I am not cutting that out.